Hey guys, so this is going to be my first video on Angry Abused Pissed Off Housewife. Thank you guys for all of you who are a part of my Facebook page. I literally made this group because I wanted to express myself. And being in an abusive relationship, I did not have that ability. I wasn't telling anyone that I was being abused or anything like that. Or I just wasn't talking about my abuse. Like they thought it was a one-time thing. And so I started this group because I wanted to help get the emotions out of me. And I can't believe how big it's gotten. I can't believe how many people like this group. And I am so thankful for each and every one of you. So I am starting a YouTube channel, and I thought that we could do more in-depth things. Like there was this girl on one of the groups that I am involved in for domestic violence, because I believe I went through this for a reason, and maybe it's to save people, because not everybody is as lucky as I was. Okay? Not everyone is as lucky as the ones that get away. I know many. My friend had a friend who was being abused and never did tell anyone. Her children were old enough to understand, but didn't say anything either. Anyway, and he killed her. He beat her, and then he stabbed her to death because she was too afraid to come forward. She was too afraid to go to the cops, because you hear a lot of stories about domestic violence, but the victims don't really want to talk about it, right? And that's perfectly fine. But see, I am talking about it because maybe, just maybe, my story can help somebody. And that makes my story worth talking about to me, even if I felt shame then. I don't really anymore, because now I feel empowered to help others. Like I was meant to do this, and that's why this happened to me, as bad as it was. Okay, so my friend, his daughter, actually, her husband and her were getting a divorce, and he was really mad. He never had hit her before, but he did emotionally abuse her. And they were getting divorced. He was very angry. He came over, and the kids were in the pool. He was having a play date at her house. The kids were in the pool, and the baby and her and him were in the house. And he literally stabbed her to death in front of the baby, and then left for the children to find her when they came out of the pool. Little children, okay? So if there are people out there who have a story, I think it's very important that we share our stories with those who are going through it. They are going through the maze right now, and we have the key. We know how to go. We're like, no, 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 no. Don't go that direction. You're going to hit a wall. Trust me, come this way. Let's get you through this maze. Let's get you to the light at the end of the tunnel, because, my darling, there is one. So what made me think about doing this, guys? So somehow I don't even know. I liked a group on Facebook that I don't remember liking, but I don't know. Maybe I was divinely guided to like it. But it is a domestic violence group, and this girl posted in it. And don't worry, I'm going to leave this anonymous. But she said, I'm breaking my silence. Late last year, not long before Christmas, I was physically assaulted by my partner at the time. He had asked me to lie to his ex-partner to create chaos and drama, and just because she is a narcissist and needs attention. So right away, what I'm getting from her story is that her person wanted her to cause drama to his ex because he's still mad at his ex for getting away in the first place. And she probably wouldn't have listened to this ex had she told her when they first got together. Like I tried to tell my ex, his new girlfriend, I tried to tell her how violent he was. And she called me a crazy ex. I just wanted her man. And I was like, no, honey, if I wanted him, I'd still have him. And I didn't want him. Like, you can take him. He's my gift to you. But she didn't listen to me. And I don't know what exactly happened between the two of them, but I do know that it got so bad, she tried to kill herself. Yeah, she tried to jump off of a balcony and ended up breaking her hips and all sorts of stuff. And then a few months later, she did succeed at killing herself. So I do believe that we should get these stories out so people that are going through this maze have a light to guide them. I know it's hard to talk about our stories, but also the only way to heal it is to feel it, is to go back and remember it. Okay, so let's get back to her story. But right away, I am seeing that he is trying to use her to get back at his ex, which would really make me mad. Like, what are you trying to make her jealous or what? You know, like, do you still have feelings for this girl? He probably does. Narcissists keep their supply. You know, he would go back to that supply too if he felt like he would get supply from her again. Okay, so she said, I refuse to do it. Good girl. He then began to verbally and mentally abuse me. I tried to escape into the bathroom, but he followed me after more verbal abuse. As I was sitting on the tiles, he said the words, "Are you ready?" And then before I could respond, he punched me so hard in the face, fracturing my eye socket and giving me a concussion. Okay. I can totally relate to that because mine broke my eye socket. Optical bone is actually what it's called. He broke my optical bone as well. So I totally can relate to this. So this is what triggered me to do this video. I'm not going to lie. I am a little nervous. This is a hard thing to talk about, but if it helps somebody, I'm all for it. Okay? And them following you into the bathroom, even the bathroom, like you go there to escape and they will follow you and stand in your way. God, I hate that. I hate it. Okay. So he fractured her eye. As she lies screaming and crying on the floor, he ran out and grabbed their 10-month-old baby, who was also screaming, and came back into the bathroom. He then made up a story that the police were outside and she needed to shut up and stop crying. Like, protect me now. After what I did to you, I need protection. So don't you love me? If you loved me, you would do this for me. If you love me, let me use my love against me. Let me use your love against me. Yeah, can you believe the nerve of them literally wanting someone to protect them after they just hurt them? Like, it's totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. You don't deserve protection for what you did, okay? As she was scared and in total shock, she did what he wanted. She got into the shower and sat there with the baby. He kept telling her he was in so much trouble and began to cry. Those are crocodile tears. And even if they're not, like, my exes would be like, oh my God, don't get me in trouble. I'm so sorry. I'll fix it. I'll make it better. No, they won't. No, they won't. They're lying just because they want to use your love to not, like, you don't want them to get in trouble. You're like, oh my God, I love you though. I don't want you to be in trouble. I don't want to hurt you. I'm going to lie for you. I would lie for you. I would die for you. Isn't that what songs say? So you're supposed to lie for them. We're supposed to lie. But we're not. We're not. That's not what I'm saying. But that's what we seem to think when we're in the moment. Okay? Let me see. I told him I would say I fell because he made her feel badly for him. He then latched onto that story and from then on proceeded to gaslight her and tell her that she really did fall and hit the bathtub. When I would tell him, no, I didn't, he said, how would you know? You can't even remember due to your head injury from falling. She was so confused that she questioned herself. He literally made her feel like, oh my God, but did I? They do that to you. But did I fall? I don't remember falling. Didn't he hit me? Or did I imagine it? And then you want to go with the easier one. No, he didn't hit me. He's right. I did fall. I want to go with this because I love this person. Not every moment is bad, guys. Not every moment is bad. Nobody would go with them if it was. Nobody would stay if it was bad all the time. You hold on to those good moments. Okay. Anyway, she went on to say, I didn't report it or leave him, as he had such a hold on me as a person and I became such a weak and helpless version of myself. I hid the energy from I hid the injury from everyone. I'm sick today, guys. And had to tell my two older daughters that I fell. This was the second instance of physical violence. So she felt really ashamed and embarrassed about what happened, and that she let this person into hers and her kid's life. Anyway, she was asking, saying she's scared that he will come and hurt her and her children now that he is gone, and she's at a loss of what to do to help herself. So I told her my story because she said she's so lost and broke. So this is what I told her. I said, it will get worse. Mine started as mental and emotional abuse as well. Then he started breaking my things and pushing me. That escalated to him pulling my hair and beating my head on the ground. It got worse and worse. I had to lie to cover up every bruise. I had to bribe my children to lie to everyone too. By the time I escaped, he had broken my nose twice. The first time was when he kicked me in the face. He told me I sat up too fast and he was trying to step over me and he kicked me in the face. But that was a lie. He was just trying to make me see it differently so he wouldn't get in trouble. That was the first time he broke my nose. Okay. I told her how he choked me on my wedding day while I was pregnant with my third baby. And the last time he ever hit me, he choked me in front of my children. I didn't realize that I couldn't breathe. I was in shock. However, my laptop I was holding onto fell out of my hand, making me snap out of it and come back to reality. Only then did I understand that I, in fact, was not breathing. Like, literally, I didn't understand it before that. So I scratched his face, deep and hard. He then punched me in the eye, threw me on the ground, and said, "You shouldn't have fucked with me, you stupid bitch." He threw me on my knees because as he was holding me there, my feet were off the ground, and the only thing that was keeping me on the wall was his hand on my neck. He then kicked me, and I fell forward onto my face. I sat up, blood was pouring out my nose and down my throat. I was swallowing my own blood. All I could think was, how do I hide this from my dad? He won't believe the baby accidentally headbutted me again. My sons came in and pulled me into the living room. Well, that's what I said, but guys, I didn't want to tell my whole story and write this stuff down on Facebook. So anyways, what happened is I went in the bedroom where he was, and I started wiping my blood all over his stuff so that he had to feel it or something like that. And I literally thought about taking a chair and smashing him over the back with it until he was dead. Yeah, so I knew I couldn't do that because my children did not need to see any more abuse, and I knew that they didn't need a mom in jail. So I collected my composure, I breathed, and next thing I knew, my son came into the room, and him and his little brother kind of wrapped my arms around them because they were shorter than me at the time, and took me into the living room. When we were in the living room, they started, my son gave me a sweater, put it on my nose, because that's all he could grab. And he was trying to help with the bleeding because I was still bleeding everywhere. They blocked the gate with anything that they could. My 10-year-old and 8-year-old were moving furniture. My 3-year-old and 1-year-old were moving little things like books and toys, trying to protect me from any more harm. So then my 10-year-old picked up the phone and dialed 911. He said with a serious, business look on his face, "You talk or I will." He then was standing by the gate with a knife, pointing it at his stepdad, like, "Don't you even try to come in here. I will hurt you." My 10-year-old was outside taking care of our puppy when the fight happened. A few days before this, a puppy magically just appeared in our yard. I asked my neighbors if it was their puppy, and it wasn't. So I was holding on to the puppy for a few days until I could find its owner or, keep it. So I kind of believe that that puppy was meant to have my son be outside at the time of the fight. Like it was divinely guided to be that way, because if he was in the house, I know he would have fought and he probably would have gotten hurt or died. And I have had dreams about it. So I do believe in miracles. So the cops came and took him away. He tried to say I attacked him. He wanted me to go to jail too, but mine was self-defense. The cop said that I was defending myself when I scratched him and it was fine. He took pictures of my hands and my clothes and my neck and, just my face and everything. That way they could use it in my defense. So I had to call my parents and have them come sit with me because now I was a threat to my own children. And I had to go to the hospital. So I had to have a babysitter the next 24 hours because they wanted to be sure that I wasn't going to hurt my children or myself. That's kind of like protocol, so it's okay. I also, when I was at the hospital, the doctor said that when he punched me, he not only broke my optical bone, he popped something in my sinuses. And the doctor said I was very lucky, that I was a miracle, because he had seen people bleed out in minutes from that thing in the sinus popping. I can't remember what he called it exactly, like the medical term. But that's why my blood was pouring out my nose and down my throat. I was literally drinking my own blood. They also said it may never heal right, that I might need surgery, and it may look bad for the rest of my life. So I was feeling really upset at that point, because not only did he try to kill me in front of our children, but now I might have a face that's messed up forever, And it's like, I didn't know what to do. No matter what I did, I couldn't cover up the bruises. I felt ashamed of myself. I didn't have enough money and couldn't work because I was going to school at the time and I had to take care of my 2 kids, a toddler and a baby. It was the most scary thing that ever happened to me. However, it was the most freeing thing that ever happened to me too. I got proof of the abuse. I got a restraining order and temporary custody. I did end up taking him back because I had Stockholm syndrome and because I felt like I couldn't live without him. And I always would justify in my mind reasons why I had to take him back. I would tell myself I didn't have enough money to support myself. What if he got custody of the kids and then the kids had to be with him alone because he would abuse them too? Not as badly as he would abuse me. Everyone deserves a second chance, is what I would tell myself. He is sick and can't help it. And my number one, I just wouldn't let my kids be alone with him. He used to tell me that I can run away, but the kids can't. So I would stay. I told myself he never went to jail before. He's going to change. He never went through anger management before. This time he's going to change. He's going to therapy. He's getting help. He's going to change. I never filed for divorce before. He's going to change. I always had hope that things would change. Even after our divorce, and I got remarried, and that was a flop. Dude turned out to be an abusive alcoholic. Not as badly abusive as him, but literally pretty bad. Like emotionally, mentally, mostly. He did try to slap me once or twice and threw a garbage can at me one time. So, anyways, after that, my ex that was abusive, he had gotten help. Again, he had He was going to therapy. He was taking pills. He literally was diagnosed with psychosis. Like, I thought if he finally would get help, we could make it work. So he moved back down here, and we did try again, and it still did not work. He was still emotionally abusive. And by this point, he was drinking way too much, like all the time. And I was like, well, if you're drinking, it's not allowing your psychosis pills to work anyway. So that didn't work. And we finally said goodbye. And I finally let it go. And I finally let go of the hope that there was any chance he's ever going to change to be a good person. And at this point, you know, I don't even think I was in love with him anymore. It was more just, I don't know, I guess divinely guided to show me that I just could not make it work. That way I could finally let it go, the hope of him ever getting better. I always would have hope that things would change, and that crippled me. It wasn't until my hope was gone at the end, the last time we tried, that I finally was able to let go. He never did hit me again after the time he went to jail, because the DA told him. What happened is, I was a psychology student, and I knew he had something wrong with him. And I told him that he just had something wrong with him, that he just needed anger management and therapy and whatever. And I got him from going to prison for attempted murder. The DA told him if he ever hit me again, not only would he be charged for hitting me again, but he would also have this case reopened, and he would be going to prison for attempted murder. I saved him because I had Stockholm Syndrome, and I felt I couldn't live without him. And I hate when people are like, why do they stay? They must like it. No, there's a million reasons, but that isn't one. Okay, there's a million reasons, but not that. Yeah, so the emotional and mental abuse never did stop, not even at the end. Not even with help. It just got worse. Even after being diagnosed with psychosis, he still wouldn't admit it was his fault. He wanted to blame it on me. Everything he did to me. And he only wanted to admit the one time he went to jail. He said that that's the only time he ever put his hands on me, which I know is a lie, because I remember everything clearly. It's burned into my brain. How could I ever forget? You can't forget that kind of torture. I remember when he pulled me through the house by my hair, I felt like my skull was being ripped off, like I was being sculpted. Okay, sculpt? I don't know. Okay, he still wouldn't admit it, that it was his fault. It did end eventually, our relationship. I already said that. Anyway, to answer your question, I told her she should call the cops and get everything on record. Show them the pictures. Get a restraining order and temporary custody. I said, if you do take him back, I suggest you start recording the abuse. Take pictures of everything. Write everything down. I used to hit record on my phone and then plug it into the charger close to him when he would start to yell, or just set it down while it was recording, and I had a password on it so he couldn't see it was recording. That way I could use that in court, and that way when I missed him, and I knew I would, I could listen to it. Yeah, I use that to help me get custody and to remember why I had to stay away from him. Because when you leave this person, you have Stockholm Syndrome. You will miss them like crazy. You will cry. You will feel like you want to die without them at some time, because it's a toxic relationship. And in that toxic relationship, you have the cycle of abuse. So when you leave it, it's like you're letting go of a drug. So you have to let your body detox from the drug that the abuse gives you. You have to detox and withdraw like you have an addiction, or you're an alcoholic or something. So when you're crying and you're missing him, you will think maybe it wasn't that bad, that you just overreacted, that you were terrible to them. Maybe you did deserve what happened, but that's just your addiction talking. Your addiction keeps you stuck. You go through withdrawal, and sometimes Sometimes you relapse. Have you ever heard that song, Relapse? It's like a country song. I think I'm going to relapse. Yeah, I feel that. So take pictures of your wounds, not only for court, but also for you. Write down anything that you hated about that person, too. That way, whenever you miss them, you can look at that and remember why you don't. Don't let them gaslight you. Don't think that it was you, that you're the crazy one. Because the crazy one doesn't go around wondering if they're the crazy one, okay? They think that they can do no wrong at all. Okay, so remember that the good guy, the good person you see in them, that's just the person they pretend to be to keep you stuck. The person that's so loving and caring when they're in the love bombing stage. If every single moment were bad, we would leave. It's the good ones that keep us stuck because we remember the good ones when there's the bad ones. We think about the good. We think about half cup full. It's not always bad, right? And it doesn't start out bad. I mean, they don't come to the first date and punch you in the face. They wait until you're really stuck. You're pregnant or you're married or they're pregnant or you're married or whatever. So write down everything you hated about them. It really helps when you withdraw. Remember, you can't save him, sweetheart. He does mean to do the things he does, even if he says he doesn't. And even if you believe that because you want to believe that, he even enjoys it. My ex, after his abuse, would get really horny and want to have sex. Like beating me turned him on. The power of it, you know? So now I was forced to have sex with him. And if I said no, he would hold me down and rape me anyway. Plus, when we don't tell on these people, they get away with it and they do it to someone else. Not to mention, once you have it on record that they did it to you, people are more likely to believe you in the end. Because when you leave them and you're like, you never said anything to anyone about it, and you're like, he was really abusive. Really? Because you told me he was so great and blah, 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 you know? Plus, when we don't tell and they get away with it, it gets worse. Did you know that Ted Bundy started out stealing things from the store? Every time he would do it, he would try to get away with something bigger. He ended up being one of the worst serial killers because once he got away with that, he would start window peeping. And once he got away with that, he started going in there and killing people, you know. I also told her you can't love him through it because you can't. All you can do is save yourself and your children. I am a lucky person because I got out of it. There are so many women and even men that are not as lucky. Men, people are like, men? How could a big man get beat up by a little tiny girl like that? I'll tell you how. He loves her. He doesn't fight back. He doesn't want her to get hurt. He doesn't want to beat her and get in trouble for that or hit her when he loves her or, you know, cause her any pain. He wants to take it as an excuse that maybe I just did deserve that or something like that. And a man, is even more ashamed because they know it makes them look weak, or at least they feel like it makes them look weak, but it doesn't. It makes them look strong because they literally took that shit. They're warriors and they shouldn't be made fun of for it because, yes, a little tiny woman can beat up a big, strong man. It is possible. And there are men that don't get out. I watched this thing one time and this little tiny woman, this dude was a big, tall dude, you know, a big dude, a big, muscular dude, and she would abuse him. And one time she poured gasoline on him and set him on fire. And they're like, well, how could she have done that to him? Blah, blah, blah. She's so little. That's how. He loved her. He didn't want to hurt her. The ones that get out are lucky, and we should share our story because maybe it can help other people get through this scary maze. We made it through. Now let's help others. I went on to tell her I could have easily died that day in front of my children. That's why I share my story with people. Because only after everybody found out about my abuse did they start to tell me about their abuse. Because after it happened, I got tired of being abused and I took pictures and I put that crap on Facebook. Yeah, and I tagged him. And my family and friends were attacking him on Facebook, and his family started attacking my family and me like he did nothing wrong. His mom would always tell him, "There's nothing wrong with you, my son. It's her. It's her. There's something wrong with her." Don't even get me started on her crazy ass. It's no wonder he's crazy. So my friends never told anyone about their abuse, or at least I didn't know about it. Once I started hearing other people's stories, I looked it up online and I started listening to music about it. And I was like, wow, other people have gone through this crap too. And then I found out they got out. And that opened my mind to, oh my God, there's really a way out. There's a light at the end of this tunnel. I promise you guys there is. It's scary, but you have to get it on record because it will get worse. Oh, he only pushed me. Next time he's going to pull your hair. Next time he's going to drag you across the house. Next time he might kill you and you won't be so lucky. Or she. Take it how it resonates. Told her, don't wait. Call the cops. You might not be as lucky next time. Get him in jail. File a restraining order in temporary custody. Then go stay with someone where you feel safe. Do not listen to all his threats. He probably told you you're too ugly to get someone new. They do that. They tell you you're so ugly, you're so stupid, this and that. Nobody else would ever want you. That way you feel so ugly and gross that nobody else would ever want you, that you believe the lie. They convince you that you're crazy, but you're not. Look up narcissism, everyone. Do your research. File for custody. It's time to become Mama Bear or Papa Bear. And if you guys don't have any kids, like my first husband would abuse me. Yeah, I had 3 abusive husbands. Wasn't I lucky? I'm being sarcastic, obviously. He would tell me that he would take my dogs in the divorce and he would kill them. And he would send me pieces of them in the mail. So that kept me stuck with him too. So a couple good shows that I want to recommend that really do. The best one that really shows abuse is Big Little Lies. Nicole Kidman's character. Nicole did such a great job on that. I hope she got a freaking Grammy or whatever. But that's really what it's like. Watch that show if you want to know what it's like. If you're like, well, I'm not being abused, send it to someone you think is. Because maybe someday you're going to have to know this information. What about your daughter or your son? Would you want them to stay in that situation? No, of course not. You wouldn't want your daughter to be with someone who abuses them, or teach your son that it's okay to hit women. Teach your daughter it's okay to let a man hit you. Teach your son it's okay to let a woman hit you. Teach your daughter it's okay to hit a man. You know? Another good show is Made. That one, she's with this alcoholic, abusive asshole. And, both give you really good ways to get out. I'm not going to lie. The book is better. Big Little Lies, the book is better than the show, but the show is definitely worth watching. It's really good too, okay? Both of them, both seasons. They need to make another season. They haven't yet. But Made, she gets away and then it shows how he suckers her back in. They do that. You relapse. Especially when you feel like you have nobody. And that person's familiar and you miss them. So anyways, this is my first post. If you think this will help someone or whatever, please share it with your friends or, just get it out there so that people know what's going on and stop saying, well, why did they stay? They must have liked it, because for the love of God, that's not true. Unless you have lived with an abusive relationship, if you've ever lived it, if you've ever been there, if you've ever felt it, then you, my friend, can talk about it and say, well, they must have stayed because they liked it. Did you like it? No. Did you ever go through it? No. Then you can't really speak about it. But it is something to educate yourself on, because there are people going through it every single day. And you're like, but Tommy's such a good dad and he's so good to her and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're great in public. But wait till they get them home or when they're riding in the car. That's my personal favorite. They scream at you from the minute you get in that car until the minute you get back out of that car. But when they're out of the car, you know, they're super nice. They're caring. They put on this big fat mask. And you look like the crazy one because you're getting mad and you're like, oh, you're just pretending to be a good dad. Did you seriously just change a diaper for the first time in your life? You know, like you're getting angry and then people are like, Jesus, what's wrong with her? She must be crazy or he or whatever. And you're like, yeah, you guys are falling for his lies. He's not this person. He's a bad person or she's a bad person. And you feel like, you know, in Titanic when Rose says to Jack that she feels like she's being taken away in chains and she's screaming in the middle of a room and nobody even looks up. It's like that. And you lie, and then you have to lie to protect that lie. Look for the signs, even if you're not being abused. Did they really fall? Did the baby really headbutt them? My second broken nose I got from him. He hit the baby. All right. The baby was only 1. And I got mad. So I hit him back. You know, I just slapped him. Like, you slap my baby, I'm going to slap you. Whatever, you know. And so he slapped me a bunch of times. I can't even count it. And I kicked him off of me because he kept slapping me. And what happened is he just kept punching me in the nose. Punching me and punching me and punching me and punching me. And I just remember screaming and blood everywhere. And my son was in the bathroom and I had to bribe him at the time to not say anything. You want a new toy? Yeah. And everyone believed me when I said the baby headbutted me in the nose. They even thought it was funny. I didn't think it was so funny. But they didn't know the story. So, I mean, if you think there's some sort of abuse going on, you could ask, but they probably wouldn't tell you because they don't want to look weak and they don't want their person to get in trouble. So it's hard to say. So maybe just share this with them and be like, holy crap, you should really listen to this because maybe someday we might need to be educated on this. Like, what about if our friends are being abused or something? You know, so that way you're not like, hey, are you being abused? But maybe you can share this with them to open their eyes. Maybe. Or watch that show with them to open their eyes. Because when you're in an abusive relationship, you're literally walking around in survival mode. You are a robot. What can I do to keep this person from exploding? What eggshells do I have to work on? I remember my husband worked at night and I wasn't allowed to sleep in the bed. Okay, so when I had Jasper, our 4th son, I was throwing up and I asked him, I said, can you please hold the baby? I really need to get some sleep. I'm throwing up. And of course he didn't. He brought me the baby and I got the baby to sleep. I put my boob in his mouth and he was happy-go-lucky, whatever, you know. And then when he came in, the baby was sleeping on my chest, which is where my babies all slept. You can do that if you're not going to move around a lot, you know. Like, I'm not going to say nothing about it. Like, I co-slept with all of my babies because I've tried a crib twice and both got recalled. So I'm like, screw this. I'm not buying a crib. Nope. Okay. So he made us go sleep. He comes in, the baby's on my chest and he's like, put him in the crib. I'm like, but he's asleep. We are sleeping. Like, why couldn't you have just went to sleep? You just woke him up. So then I had to get him back to bed while puking. put him in the crib, and then he yelled at me again that he has to work in the morning and me and that stupid baby were keeping him awake, and he wanted me out of the room. So I was like, fuck you. You know what? I'm done. I don't want to be here anyway. So I grabbed my baby and we went out on the couch, and that's where we stayed. And then for my birthday, it had been 2 months that I'd been sleeping on the couch with the baby, and the baby was getting bigger and it was uncomfortable. So I bought a day bed for my birthday for myself. That was my gift. And of course he wouldn't put it together. My dad did, and he was mad. So anyways, I slept out in the living room and he slept in the bedroom. So back to when he would get home from work at night, the kids, I would say, your dad's home. And they would run and get in their bed and they would pretend to be asleep. And I would pretend to be asleep on the couch, on the daybed with both babies at one point, because when he got home, he was going to be in a bad mood and screaming and yelling, and he would bang everything around and slam doors and cabinets and all this stuff, trying to wake up the baby. What he didn't understand is the baby was never asleep. I had my boob in his mouth. He was happy-go-lucky. He was just fine. And the other ones were pretending to be asleep because nobody wanted to be near him because we knew what was going to happen. I knew if he found out I was awake, he would want me to have sex with him. And if I said no, he would get mad. Things would escalate and we would get in a big fat fight, or he would just make me do it, I hope that this helps somebody. If you guys want to know more of this story, my God, I have had a really crappy life. I'm not going to lie. Like when I was little, I went through some bad things with some bad people. And then I grew up and everyone at school was mean to me. And then I went to another school, and that was my happiest place I ever been when I went to middle school. Like we lived in this trailer park and not in the big house anymore, but I don't care because the big house was lonely and big and scary. And the trailer park, I had friends now. I had people that cared about me, and then I married my best friend. That didn't go well. And then I married again. That didn't go well. That's the one I was just telling you about. And then the third one I thought, was the charm. But as soon as we were married, he turned into a dud as well. So, I have millions and millions of stories. And I don't know, maybe give me some comments. Maybe there's something you want to talk about. Maybe you want to share your story with the world. Or maybe you want to ask me questions, like I just did with this girl. I just kind of looked at her story and kind of pointed different things out. And then, maybe this will get to someone. I don't care if only one person sees this and it helps only one. It would be worth it to me. So if this helped you, please let me know. If you want to talk about stuff, let me know, leave me a comment or comment on one of my things on my Facebook page. I can go ahead and leave a link down below. Maybe we could even make a angry, abused, pissed off housewife group on Facebook or Instagram or something where we can all just talk, share stories or something, maybe you can send me your questions or ask my advice because I'm not a pro. I don't claim to be a pro, but I did get through the maze. And if I can help you get through the maze, if I can help you to understand that there is a light at the end of the very dark, horrible tunnel where all you're doing is living in survival mode. And when you do come out of survival mode, you're so angry because you're stuck in for survival mode. If I can help you, then by all means, please like, subscribe, share, comment, go to my Facebook page. Let me know if this is something that I should pursue. Maybe this is why I had to go through the things that I had to go through. And maybe my story can change somebody's life. I love you guys. Thanks for listening to my story if you stayed the whole time. And if you did stay the whole time, please leave me a little emoji so that I know that you guys actually stayed the whole time. Bye.